Welcome to everybody. We will get started on the application process for the Utah Pollinator Habitat Program. I'm glad all of you are here and feel free to spread the word as you put in your applications. That was it. I think we muted everybody upon entry. I think you can probably type your questions in the chat as we go. I am just going to try to get through this presentation relatively quickly because I think the Q&A aspect of this webinar is probably what most of you are interested in. Maybe some of your questions will be answered by the slides here. So I'm just trying to, okay, there we go. All right, so this is our team. And again, jump in if my screen is not showing the right thing. I've got 3 screens in front of me, so I think I'm looking at the right one. Anyway, my name is Mindy Wheeler. I am the Native Plant Conservation Project Leader. I'm an employee of Utah State University, but I am housed at the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources. And interestingly enough, perhaps, the Pollinator Habitat Program is housed at the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food. That's where the money pot ended up, I guess. Jim Bocut is the Director of Conservation there, and Cherie has been very helpful in terms of keeping us in line with invoices, etc. Becky Yeager, Pam Blackmore, and Jennifer Dowd and Mariah Jackson have been really instrumental in keeping this program rolling. Each has a very important part, and we would be lost without any of them. Jim Spencer is out of Roosevelt, and he's been really helpful with plant selection and thoughts and input. And Amanda Barth is, she's the rare insect coordinator for the state of Utah, sort of my, she has a similar position as mine, sort of dual appointment type thing. So quickly, just an overview of what we want to cover in this, how the program started, what the goals are, how it works, what a successful proposal looks like. We'll touch a little bit on what's being grown out currently, and then sort of next steps, and then application troubleshooting and questions and answers. And again, I think that last part is probably will be the most helpful for everybody here. So the origins of the program: in 2021, the Utah State Legislature passed House Bill 224 called Pollinator Amendments. It was meant to be a 3-year pilot program. In 2023, though, they tacked on enough funding to get us through 2027. We are hoping that it will become an ongoing program after this next legislative session. Some of the funding is at Southern Utah University for some educational purposes and helping us out. So the summary and goals, essentially, in the legislative bill, it was worded very ambiguously, probably on purpose. They said, here, we want something like this, you guys figure it out. So essentially, they told us that they wanted more native plants and native seeds in the ground for pollinators, and a whole bunch of education to go along with that. So we came up with the Pollinator Habitat Kit. It's modeled after a Xerces program in California, where people will get these ready-to-plant habitat kits, pollinator habitat kits of about 30 plants each. And again, we'll get into more details about that going forward. And just to let you guys know, I mean, we're new at this too. So every year we learn a little something, and things, change slightly or a little bit, or are done a little bit differently from year to year. So we're just trying to be very responsive to what you all say in your input. So as you all likely know, the application period is open now. Opened on March 1st, it goes to April 15th. Pretty much anyone can apply, private, public, corporate, educational, you name it. You can do it. So one habitat kit consists of about 30 plants, and again, sometimes the number is slightly above or below that, just depending on what kind of luck the growers had getting things to grow. And we do ask for people to apply for a minimum of 3 kits. So that means a minimum of 90 plants. Essentially, we did that to sort of keep our own sanity. If we gave 30 plants to 500 different people, the logistics of that just gets a little overwhelming. Maybe in the future, but until we feel we're able to handle that, I think it's still a minimum of 3 kits and a maximum of 10 kits for most. After your application comes in, you'll be notified in the late spring whether you are accepted in the program or not. And the plant pickup is going to be in the fall. For northern Utah, it's mid to late September, and for southern Utah, it can be into October. And we give you about 10 days after you pick up your plants to get those things in the ground. Got to get them good and comfy before the winter sets in. What to expect if awarded. So we ask for a commitment of 3 years. Now, don't panic. The only thing really that we want from you for those 3 years is you're going to give us a before photo, and that, be very cognizant of where you're taking that photo, and take the exact same frame in the following 3 years to show us what your pollinator habitat looks like for the next 3 years. This really helps us to, and you also answer a questionnaire as to which plants did the best and which plants did not do well for you. And that helps us use that information going forward for the next years. And of course, there's always going to be controlling weeds. It's just a fact of life. Weeds are wherever you go, and just make sure you know which is which, and how you can control those as best as possible. And then also, we also do like to have you guys help us get the word out in terms of public education and outreach. So that can be, putting up a web page or a blog, but that can also be simply, talking to your neighbors about it. So we just like to get the word out about what you're doing and what we're doing. Then, the other aspect I did want to mention is, gardening with native plants is a little bit different of an animal, for lack of better words. Sometimes it takes a while for these plants to get really comfy in their new habitat. And so just be patient with them getting comfortable and starting to produce a lot of flowers and seeds and filling up your garden. It's a learning process. I think it's just a little bit different, but it's so much fun, especially when you see all the different pollinators using all your plants in the yard. What a successful application. We really like to see a lot of detail about how you're going to prepare your site, your layout, how you're going to deal with things going forward. For us anyway, the more detail, the better. It just sort of gets us in your frame of mind as to what you're hoping for your pollinator habitat. Irrigation is pretty darn important, even though most of these won't need much, if any, irrigation once they're established. For those first 1 to 2 years, they will likely need some supplemental irrigation. And so let us know how you plan to address that. And then, of course, the management strategy. Is it going to be you taking care of it? Is it going to be, I don't know, some employees? Is it going to be, a landscaper? And how you plan to upkeep and what your maintenance. Again, it's mostly the weed issue, which I am dealing with yeah, a lot of bindweed in my own yard, and it's just maddening, but I don't know, put the Zen hat on, I guess, and, and just go for it. The other thing that we did want to mention is we do truly discourage weed barrier, because those a lot of bees are ground nesting bees, and they need access to the ground to make their nest, to get in and out of their nest. So we and it tends anyway. Yeah, but sometimes weed barrier, it may work at the outset, but you're going to be dealing with it from that point forward. And believe me, the person in my house before me, I wish they would not have put down that weed barrier down. I've been yanking it up, and it's difficult. And then again, sort of an understanding in terms of your application, an understanding of, you're in this for the long haul, because it does take a bit of patience and just a willingness to learn, I guess, put it that way. Willingness and eagerness to learn about native plants and their pollinators. So we do have upland habitat kits and wetland habitat kits, and we have them for both the northern Utah and southern Utah. And pretty much what you imagine what an upland site looks like versus what a wetland site looks like. So a lot of that, well, some of the wetland kits and or species will differ a little bit more from year to year, because those are the seeds that our team has to collect from year to year, because they're generally not commercially available. We do collect some of the upland seed as well, and we're hoping that we're going to get some new and exciting species this year for our upland kits, and we're just crossing our fingers with the growers. And each awardee will be given information packets and a sign, and I think in this presentation you'll see the sign. And anyway, once you get your acceptance email, we will ask you these questions of whether you want a sign and some other questions. Where you want to pick up your plants, that kind of stuff. So again, we are hoping for about 50,000 plants to be grown out in 2024. I don't think we'll have trouble getting to that number. We have a new wonderful grower this year. We can talk more about that later. And again, patience, patience, patience. And yeah, I mean, my yard has been in natives for 15 years now, and I'm always learning something new, but it's been fun. So just be flexible, I guess, with what you expect, because you might often be pleasantly surprised. So again, we are once you're accepted, we expect those plants to be in the ground about 10 days after you receive those plants. You can see one of these signs out in front here. We also discourage use of pre-emergence, or especially pre-emergence and pesticides. And if you do get additional plants at big box stores, that's fine. Just see if you can find the nursery manager and ask if they use neonicotinoids in their growing medium, which is a pretty nasty herbicide that's I think it's been banned in Europe, but not yet in the United States. Again, we say avoid use of the weed barrier. Might seem difficult to begin with, but in the long run, believe me, you'll be very thankful, and the bees will be thankful as well. And then again, figure out where you might want to put your plants, what kind of irrigation you might need, and if you're going to put in a drip line or all that kind of stuff to prepare your site and get ready for the plants. So just to let you see what some of these landscapes, small landscapes, can look like. This is a little misleading because I think this before photo is taken at a different spot than the after photo. So this is what gardening with natives can look like. And so the newly planted area is in the back of that picture on the right. So that's where the grass was taken out. And again, this is only after 1 year. These before and after pictures are only 1 year of growing. So keep that in mind. We pushed back the reporting date to the end of July this year. We asked for it in June, the first year. It's just not enough time, I think, to really get an idea as to what your garden is going to be doing by the end of June. So we pushed that back to July. We will make sure to get that on the website as well. This is another one, a good one out in Morgan. Obviously has some wetlands there. There's that cattail there. And then there's the wetland plants that she put in. She did put in weed barrier there. Again, anyway, I will be very curious to see what it looks like this year. So this was only 1 year after. This one, I just love this one. You know, great job on letting the yard die, right? In the first place. And then, you know, it looks like this. And again, this is only after 1 year of growth, but it's just really exciting. She's got the, I don't know, has the water here for bees, which is one of the things that at least I think the Monarch Way Station needs, is a little bowl of water for the pollinators, monarch butterflies. So how many times can we talk about weed management? So we do have a planting and maintenance guide on the website. They can be downloaded and printed out if need be. It gives you some tips in terms of how best to prepare and maintain your site. And again, using or avoiding the use of weed barrier. I love showing this picture of some of these old stems from previous years. If you cut them off, the bees will use the hollow stems as a nesting site. I think some of you might be familiar with those little bee hotels with reeds that you put all together that you can get bees to nest in. It's kind of fun too. See, navigating the website again. Poke around. There's a lot of information on there. We do have a digital version of this. And see if I can make it come. There we go. Oh! This blur thing. There we go. It's a little handbook, and you can pick these up at your extension offices, in the conservation district offices. But we do have a digital one of those on the website, and along with the rest of these, we also have, okay, this is the pollinator habitat sign that you get, or if you would like it, you can get it to put in your pollinator habitat, and it's a good conversation starter for your neighbors and among others, passersby, I guess. So all of these additional things are on our website. This is one of the plant pages that you can learn all about each one of the species that we offer. This is also up on the website, and which pollinators or wildlife you'll be supporting with that plant. So once we get a good idea as to what kind of luck the growers are having with our new species, we will make new PDF sheets for those new species. We just need to check in with our growers as to which ones we will actually need. So those are really informative and kind of fun. You can also see the sort of the native range of each of these species too. Which is kind of informative too in terms of how far north or south they go. these are the maintenance guide and the planting guides for some good tips on what to do, maybe what not to do as you put those plants in the ground and maintain them. This is new. This is going to be also up on our website. I think one of our team members, Pam, has made this lovely design as an idea, as maybe as a starting point. I think we'll have one more to get up on the website as well, just to, again, to give you guys some ideas in terms of, you know, where things might go, or we've been asked a lot for one of these. So, and this is tailored to what plants that we are currently offering as well. So it's exciting, and any feedback on that once you check it out on the website is welcome. These are some of the additional resources. This the first one, Bringing Nature Home, by Doug Tallamy, however he says his last name, is just a really nice resource to sort of bring home the point as to why we are concentrating on native plants only. So it's a good one, but all of these are really good. And this will also be up on our website. This webinar will be up on our website. So you can come back here and take a look at this list again. And then these are some of the common questions. I'm just going to quickly answer these. Yes, past applicants can reapply whether they were awarded plants or not. So, yep, you're more than welcome to ask for more plants. The polygons and calculation outputs, maybe we can address those questions as they come up. The matching funds question, as the legislature put this together, they wanted the state to cover 25% of the cost of these plants, essentially, and then those putting these, the awardees would cover the other 75%. So that's, I mean, that's labor, that's, you know, anything that you buy for irrigation, that's anything and everything. You really have not had any trouble meeting that that matching fund. So it's not cash or anything, it's just labor and anything that you might buy and or rent, equipment rental for your project as well. And as I mentioned before, pretty much anything can be considered outreach. That could be talking to your neighbor, or that could be starting a blog, that could be, you know, having a community event at your project. I mean, it's the gamut. And the watering to establish, we can talk about that too, in terms of the number of times to water the first year. And that's also up on our, I think, our maintenance guide, etc. And in that booklet as well. And of course, it's going to differ from year to year in terms of how dry it is, how dry the summer's been, all that kind of stuff. I think we do have the UT Pollinator Habitat Program at gmail.com. So you can certainly go there and submit your questions there. And but I'm going to stop sharing. And the team, oh, you know, I thought I had one more photo. Anyway, so the team, I don't know, Mariah, Pam, Jen, or Becky, are there common questions that are coming up in the chat?
We had one question about weed barrier and specifically what that means and whether or not cardboard and mulch apply to that.
Okay, so we do like to use cardboard because it does break down eventually, and I think it could be a good idea. And mulch definitely is a wonderful idea. That would not be considered a weed barrier. Generally, pollinators, bees can make it through mulch. Of course, they won't be able to make it through the cardboard for the first while, but they after a while, it'll break down and they should have access to the ground again. Keith, I see you have a hand up. You want to unmute yourself?
Yes. Mindy, you handled the Zoom bomber with grace. So nice job.
That was not me. That was my team. Thank you, team.
So I filled out application today to give this kind of a trial run for my house. And the question that came up for me was it requests that we do a different either application or project for upland versus wetland species, and then for different locations. And what confused me was the application has the option of doing multiple projects within an application versus, so I guess my question is, do you need us to submit entirely separate applications, or are we doing one application with multiple projects within that application?
Right, and I think this question has come up before. I think it kind of depends on, I mean, if you're talking about your yard and you have a couple of different places within your yard, I would say just make a circle in your yard and put in one application. I don't think that's necessary. If the sites are miles apart, I guess, then yes, we would ask for a separate application for that. Does that clear? So yeah,
So what is the, I guess, what's the function of the multiple projects within an application? So you can add.
so yeah, and that, so we can maybe get Pam to weigh in on this, but as you might imagine, you get a relational database, which makes dealing with the records a little more difficult if you have several projects in one application. I think it is helpful to some degree, and I know there was some trouble putting in additional sites within one application. Were you running into that as well?
So, well, I guess maybe it'd be easiest to go through some specific examples. So
I
for,
can chime in there if you want, Mindy. I think I understand your question, Keith. Yes, we did set it up so that you can draw separate areas of a site and include different information about that location. For example, if it's a school that's got a large campus, if they want to put in pollinator habitat in separate locations that have different site conditions, like whether it's on a slope site or different soil or different different conditions, then we've accommodated that. That's why you can draw the multiple polygons for the one project or for the one application. But then, like Mindy was saying, if it's on separate parcels or separate locations that are very different site conditions, then we encourage you to submit a different application for each of those.
okay.
Yeah, a good example might be the Liberty Park application from last year that had several different conditions throughout the Liberty Park area. And I think they had like 7 different applications for different sites within Liberty Park. I don't know if you remember that one or not.
I don't, but yeah, that's a good example where it's all on one parcel of land.
So
But
what
they
about,
did like 7
ask
different
then,
applications, yeah.
what about you have one site that or one location, and it has upland and wetland habitat? Do we do one application with the two projects within that application, or do you want 2 completely separate applications for that same location?
We're encouraging 2 separate applications.
Okay.
And we actually set the survey up so that you can only choose one or the other for that. So thanks for asking.
Okay, thank you.
I'm seeing a whole bunch of chat going on. Is there another hand up or another question that anyone wants to ask?
I'll ask a question if that's okay. I don't see where to raise a hand.
Okay.
But yeah. Anyway, I typed it in there, but you're right. There's a lot of questions. So I have a professionally done landscape design, and part of it is designated as a pollinator habitat area, and it's to scale. And so someone was telling me who already went through the process of doing the application online that it's a little challenging. I haven't looked at it because I was waiting for this webinar, but she said, you know, you have to pull a Google satellite image and you know, try to circle different areas and figure out the size of it. Would it be possible to, you know, just take my landscape design that's already done and say it's color coded, you know, say here are the areas, and it would be probably a lot more accurate than something I would try to manipulate using, you know, Google satellite. So
You might be pleasantly surprised at how easy it is to do in the application process, and you know, it helps us on our end in terms of having that in our database. So what I might recommend is maybe, you know, you and I, we could get on a screen share together if you're having difficulty with it, and I can help you walk you through that process if that would help. But again, you might be quite pleasantly surprised because the Google Earth map is right there for you, and it generally finds where you are and puts you pretty much right where you are with your computer, and you should be able to find your spot pretty quickly. But again, if you need some help with that, please reach out and we can set up a screen share.
okay. No, I haven't tried it. I just thought, boy, I've got this great landscape design that is to scale and it's already done, but yeah.
Right.
So.
And you know, I don't know if you could, if you're chosen for this, you could certainly upload that plan as part of as a example of your, you know, what it's going to be or year before. I'm just trying to think. I don't think we have any other places where we can upload attachments, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So maybe, you know, as this program develops, something to think about, you know, going forward as an option, because it is very hard to do these to scale. It takes you know, a lot of effort to I actually had somebody, I took the permaculture design class, the PMC, and had one of the professors pull from that, you know, Google Earth, and he had to put it in a program to get it to scale. So it yeah, so anyway, it's anyway, my landscape design is to scale, and it's very accurate, and it would be a better representation probably than you know, just something maybe to think about going forward. So
Okay, yep, we appreciate that.
okay.
And again, feel free to reach out to me via email, the Mindy Wheeler at utah.gov. And if you're having trouble, please reach out.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
I see a Colette with a hand up.
Hi, yeah, I'm with Wasatch Integrated. We run the landfill in Layton, also MRF composting facility as well. So we actually have a bunch of good mulch. If anyone needs, you can come buy it. So we would just use that, I guess, which would be nice. We have like a really long strip, but that kind of is next to neighbors. A neighbor actually brought up this program, which is cool to us. And my question, I guess, is, I mean, we could easily plant 300 or whatever the max plants are. But I don't know if we could encapsulate all of that area in one photo. So I don't know if
Right. Yeah, that's a very good question. And I appreciate that question because you know, I would just maybe my thought would be maybe 2, because I think we allow up to 3 before photos and 3 after photos. So I'm thinking
Okay.
maybe stand in the middle and
Hmm.
take one each way for before and after. But
Okay.
again, really helps us to understand how things are going if the photos are taken
Mhm.
from the same spot.
Right, right. Okay, so yeah, we could do like a few photos for you guys for before. And then is the grant, it's just it covers, you would just be giving us the plants. Okay. And then we're just, yeah, in charge of irrigation and maintenance, essentially. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Thanks.
Thanks. Let's see, Stephanie Mitz.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
First, just thanks for doing this. I know you guys have a big team. I think you have the coolest job, and it's just so fun and a really exciting opportunity to be a part of. Um, I'm curious to learn a little bit more about where you all grow the plants. You mentioned that you have a new nursery that you're working with. I saw someone from Wasatch Community Gardens. I think Melanie was on the call. I have loved learning about that. Just curious and how y'all determine what plant species are available and that sort of a thing.
Yeah, also a good question. So this year, the state prison will be growing out all of our plants for us. And they have done a wonderful job previously, and I'm hoping in their new digs out by the Great Salt Lake that will continue. I've been out there on a tour, and they have some really amazing equipment out there, and it's very interesting. It's the horticulture, program within the prison has become apparently quite the competitive program to get into. So it's been great. Last year we used 4 or 5 different growers because there's a lot of growers. I mean, for what we grow, it's not very many plants for, a very big greenhouse, and we only want like 3,000 of these, 3,000 of those, and what they would rather grow is like, well, I can do 20,000, but only of one species. I'm like, well, that's not gonna work. So prison certainly doesn't have those issues. How we decide on which plants, it's a combination of which plants, we have sort of a team behind us, which plants we think would be great for pollinators or no would be good for pollinators. Seeds are easy to get, either by us or can be purchased, which is another I think it's going to be quite the stepping stone as this program goes. It might be difficult to get the seed that we need, but that's again why we ask in the application whether somebody from our program could come collect seed from different properties as well, just so we can keep that seed supply going. So, and it's an ongoing quest, I guess, to find the great species that are going to work well in people's yards as well as for the pollinators. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
You bet. See, Courtney Kaiser.
Hi there.
Hi.
I have a housing project down in Moab, and so it's deed restricted housing, and the site is rather large. It's 2.5 acres. And similar to the question from earlier about how to dictate where planting locations are, we have a landscape plan and have beds that are just kind of like scattered around the property. So my thought was if I can submit it as a JPEG in one of the photos, maybe that's a way to more clearly explain the locations. Is that possible?
I don't think we have a way to submit attachments in the application, if I'm remembering correctly. Pam, is that correct?
We have it set up so that you can submit any type of attachment for the photo, but just those 3 photos. So
Okay.
Okay, yeah, and that could help certainly to help explain. So for the first person, I think Diane, I think I might have misspoke. So if you, Diane, if you want to put that JPEG of your design in the application, that's fine too. So yeah, I mean, that would help. And again, I don't know if you've gotten into the application yet. You have, Courtney. So it doesn't, it's not, I don't know, it doesn't, to you, doesn't represent your project well enough. Is that what you're, okay? Yeah, I would say be, I don't know, and team, shut me up if you don't agree. But I would say be creative with it and explain as best you can and as much detail as you want in your application in terms of, why you put your plan up or whatever. Just be as clear as you can.
I would say too, if all else fails, to put a disclaimer somewhere in the comments section so that when we're reviewing your application, we understand sort of your concerns where you're coming from. And it makes us easier when we're kind of going through the applications to take that into consideration and process it. Becky, do you have any?
Yeah, I think so. I think the more information you can provide, the better. The worst thing that we see is you provide very little detail and then we just have nothing to go on. So just put it all in there. It's better.
If you can explain that you guys already have a plan and it's already, it's a 2.5 acre property, but they're in very specific planting bed areas, that really just helps us understand it better and know that you are organized and laid out and, a successful project implementation plan in place already.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things we're looking for is just to see that people are committed to this because we have some people that apply and they put very little effort into the application itself and very little time into kind of thinking it through. And the chances of those projects succeeding are probably pretty slim in the long run. So, show detail, show commitment. That's going to be better for you when we evaluate.
One more question for you, Mindy, regarding those images, and Becky and the rest of the team is, are you accepting of drone photos so that we can get a larger site?
Yes, if if we can, that's a new one. I would say yes, if I don't know if there's a size limit on the photo upload.
Maybe that's a
Pam.
question for Pam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, yes, please feel free to, just if you can get one after the project's established too, that'd be good. So we can have that before and after. I think that's just the most important part. We can make some sort of comparison.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. I see a hand up from Otters and Others zoo folks. That hand went down.
I think you're muted.
I'm sorry, I'm muted.
Oh,
I've done this 1,000 times. Okay. By the time we plant, when we pick up in October to spring, when do you guys anticipate that we should start seeing them kind of pop up out of the ground?
I think that's going to differ in the different species, right? So some of the penstemons come up pretty darn early. So like some of the warm season grasses, and that would be, anyway, a couple of the grasses won't come up till much later, maybe until, mid-June or even later than that. So that's kind of why we pushed back the reporting date too. So that's another part of the learning curve, right? In terms of when these things show their faces, and that's another thing. If they don't show their face one year, don't give up on them. Maybe they have a root ball big enough that they just decided, nah, not this year. Sometimes that happens too. So patience is really, really important. So that's also why I think some of the photos that you saw, people do like to put those little tags in next to where they planted them, because that will help you remember or sort of visualize where those plants should be coming up, right? Because that's been an issue for me anyway. I don't see any more hands up. Are there?
We have a lot of questions on the chat. Mindy, if you're ready.
Okay.
Maybe can just start working through them. Are herbicides and pre-emergence looked down upon for management of larger projects? Greater than 10 kits or 10 kits and like 2.5 acres in size?
Not necessarily. I think, you know, what we feel is show in your application that you know maybe which herbicides to use and when. And there is yeah, when you're dealing with a larger project, I think sometimes that's not it's almost unavoidable. So anyway, so no, not necessarily.
We had some that were answered by team members, but might be interesting for other people. What are the total value of plants awarded in the grant?
I don't have that off the top of my head. So what was the answer?
$1.75 per plant.
Okay, so $1.75 times 30 would be a kit.
We had a question about what types of plants are we providing this year, and is there a list somewhere?
So the possible plants, the lists are up on the website under, I think if you click around, I never am quite sure how to direct people to it. But you will get a really good idea as to what we are offering, because a lot of those plants will be the same this year. There might be a couple new additions. Yeah, Mariah put the
Sorry, I did it twice.
link up there. So that's sort of a general idea. And again, you know, 2 to 3 plants of each species. Again, kind of a mix. I'm sorry, we're not able to do more than that because it's hard to, you know, not know exactly what you're getting, but we will know in a couple of months in terms of what a kit will look like. But a lot of those plants will be the same that are up on the website. Hopefully that answers your question well enough.
There was a question about whether or not people could apply for seeds like in 2022. And if so, when do you recommend planting the seeds?
So seeds, that's become kind of a sticking point. We're trying to figure out how to do that right now. Not necessarily. I think it's yeah. Becky or Jen, do you want to add on that?
Yeah, we've offered the seed packets in the past, but we don't have them available this year, but we do have some seed. So I think it's going to be on a case-by-case situation. You know, feel free to reach out to us and we can talk about your situation. If you feel like you have a good spot for seeds, we might be able to provide some smaller packets or something.
Yeah, we were talking about some one species seed packets, because to put the seed packets together that anyway we gave out that took a lot of time to do, and a lot of seed, of course.
It was quite expensive.
Yeah, so we were sort of rethinking that. But again, you know, we likely have maybe some extra globe mallow seed or firecracker penstemon or Palmer's penstemon or something that maybe we could put together on a case-by-case basis. So.
We had a question about the signage that was seen on some of the photos and whether or not that could be obtained somewhere.
I think those generally go out with the pollinator kits. So if you are awarded, you will get one of those. are generally not available for sale or for anybody. I think it's the participation in the program.
Yeah, we're as part of the program, we're actually not allowed to sell the plants, the signs, the seed packets. You know, it would be nice if we could recoup some costs, but it's just, or the booklets even. So those are all just kind of free components of the program.
There was a question about reapplying and whether or not they could do it every year or every 3 years, or if there was any criteria about that.
We have not really set any criteria for reapplication. So, you know, if you have the room and you have the will and the time to take care of all the plants that you might be getting, we don't have any procedures set up for that yet. We do generally keep track of who has and has not submitted their reports and before and after photos. And so if you do want more plants, make sure to get your yearly reports in that way.
There was a question on whether there will be a next year, this 3-year program. Will there be a next year?
Next year, yes. The year after that, anyway, there's a lot of things cooking, as you might imagine, with you know, the Great Salt Lake issue and all sorts of other reasons to be conserving water as well as conserving pollinators. So I'm pretty hopeful that one way or another this program will continue going forth.
Mindy, we had a question about planting plants from the project and whether or not you could plant other plants along with those, or if they have to be strictly native and if you can only plant the ones that you were awarded with your kit.
We really don't have any rules on that either. I think it's well, a little too much to ask to have only our plants in your landscape. So we are okay with supplementing with other plants. You know, of course, we like to, you know, encourage you to stay native, but we cannot not, you know, make that a rule. So.
There's been a couple questions about planting within existing rock gardens where there's already some native shrubs and other things. And they want to know whether or not that's an appropriate location or if you're only looking for meadow locations.
You know, I think specific plants that we have, I think, you know, an Eriogonum undulatum, the sulfur flower buckwheat would go very well in a rock garden. I think some of the penstemons, and again, it's up to you, it's your landscape, right? And so if I would sort of maybe do a little bit more research on each species to see, you know, if there's a specific soil type that each species does better in terms of, you know, coarse soil or fine soil. But again, it's your landscape. So, you know, give it a shot.
We had another question to clarify whether or not seeds were available and if there was a separate application for receiving only seeds versus receiving live plants.
No, there is not a separate application for seeds only. And I'll just give a little bit of background on that. Since it was a 3-year pilot program, we wanted to be able to show results within that pilot program timeframe. And some of these seeds, native seeds, they seriously will sit in the ground for 3 years before they do anything. And so it would be rather difficult to show results within 3 years with just seed. And so that's why we're sort of focused on the native plants, as well as being able to you know, follow each of our applicants a little bit easier. Again, so no separate applications for seeds this year. And again, as I said earlier, it's a very dynamic program. If we can figure something like that out, that might be a possibility in the future, but not this year.
There is a question about how many applications we have received in the past and how many applications are typically approved.
Becky might have some of those numbers. I think the first year went kind of small, and I think it was like we satisfied 60% of the demand, but I think we did a little bit better last year.
Do
So
you want the numbers from last year?
sure.
So we had 217 awardees.
Okay.
Um,
And I
think we
think there
had-
was like almost 300 applicants, maybe.
a little over 300 applicants.
Okay.
So that was a good portion that were actually awarded. I mean, the ones that we turned away were mostly just those that just didn't have a suitable space for it or didn't put any effort at all into the application. There was also a little bit of confusion last year. Some people thought they were applying for seeds, and so they were asking for like 2,000 plants or 2,000 kits, you know, so there was a little confusion there, and those got turned away because we didn't have information to be able to award the plants to them. So a pretty good percentage got awarded.
Great. There's also a question about, and this was sort of already covered, but a list of plants for those who would like to plant for pollinators but don't get accepted into the program.
Yes, and I think again, to sort of go to the list that we have up on our website, as well as what's in this Plants for Pollinators booklet that's digital version is up on our website. And you will be able to find some of those at some nurseries. And that's sort of one of the things cooking is we're trying to partner with some of these nurseries and see if we can boost the supply. As the demand grows, we need to make sure that the supply grows as well.
We had a question about whether or not the application process is the same for a condo community run by an HOA, and potentially what sort of requirements would need to be met for non-owners of the property.
So yeah, we had a couple of those this past year, and what we really would like is just a note, a letter or something from either the HOA or the landowner themselves to say, yes, I agree with this. Just so that we know, the landowner knows what's going on on their property. And I don't know if that applies to an HOA. I don't know if the HOA itself would own the property. So yeah, you just ask, and that's why there's a question in the application: do you own this property? And so I think if you answer no, then another question comes up about we would like a note from the landowner.
Right. I think for the HOA specifically, she was wanting to know if she needs the board's approval or what next steps would be.
I think that's up to your HOA. And
yeah,
yeah,
every HOA is going to be different, have different guidelines and restrictions. So
yeah, and yeah, I gotta anyway. My yard has been in native for quite some time, and I have gotten 2 notices from my HOA that they thought it looked too weedy, and probably because it didn't look like a lawn. And so, but there's really, at least in my HOA, there's really not a whole lot that they can do about it. So again, it does depend on your HOA.
We had a question about whether or not people were allowed to collect the seeds and plant the seeds themselves.
Absolutely. Again, it's your landscape. We're just hoping that if you have some extra seeds that you will share those with the program. So they are your plants and your seeds to do with what you wish.
I think I've made it through all of the questions on the chat board, unless there was any I missed.
Did see a hand up from somebody a while. Oh, I think it was Victoria a while ago. Did you get your question answered? Okay.
Yeah, it was about the seed collecting, but someone else
Okay.
asked that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you will see that on your application, Victoria. Her question was, do we ask the awardees to collect seeds for us? But you'll see that on the application. You know, would you allow the program people to come onto your property to collect seeds? And that was,
I
think-
remember seeing it. I was just curious. I go to like a lot of the seed swaps or like plant swaps around the area, and I was like, I could collect seeds and share them with people there. And I
Yeah.
did.
And that's
I
fine.
need to do that. Yeah.
Hey, any other questions or comments, thoughts? Any other screamers? Sorry.
Mark has a question.
Okay. Go ahead, Mark. You're muted. There you go.
I've been growing out certain plants from seeds the last couple years, but even with cold stratifying and having careful selection of my growing medium and irrigation on timers and stuff, I'm still having pretty low germination rates and low success rate. I'm wondering if there's any more detailed information that you guys provide on growing some of these more difficult plants out from seed.
I would check the sorry, I'm bringing feedback. Anyway, checking the native seed, what's it called, you guys? Native Seed Network, Native Seed Protocol Database. It's a national native seed germination protocol. Anyway, let me see if I can.
Just knowing that there's something out there, I can probably search and find it. And it's a national database, so you can see it search regionally, or you could just put in the genus and they.
Yep. Put in the genus and species and you should be able to find it. And you might be able to search on common names. I don't remember.
Mark, one thing that I will do is type in the species and then put in germination time. And I usually find really good germination information, methods of germinating that particular species on especially the Forest Service sites and the USDA sites. They usually pop up and have some really good detailed information that's helpful. But it's going to be very specific.
I'm not sure what the expected, germination rate is for these seeds. I mean, some of them are just like so tiny that maybe I'm expecting too much, but usually as far as the plants that I'm able to grow out, it's like, I don't know, 15, 20%. It's not very good. And I don't know. I'm finding different information on the cold stratification times too. I don't know, maybe there's some subtleties in the process that I'm not getting right.
I think it's very species specific, and the stratification methods are species specific as well. That's why those publications are really helpful.
Okay, I'll look for that. I'll look for that database. Thanks.
Yeah, patience and just keep experimenting. Kim Barton Thomas, you have your hand up.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sorry, there was just a
you can't
very
hear
odd noise around my office here. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm riding the struggle bus where I'm in the car on my phone and it's not as easy to navigate as my iPad or computer. So I have a question. I've already turned in my application and now I'm kind of questioning, bless my husband's heart because he's sitting right here. I had him take the pictures for me and I'm wondering if I maybe need to redo my pictures. I have 20 acres and it's pretty much, it's undeveloped. And where I want to put this is back in the corner. We actually have a canal that runs through and there's already some natural stuff back there. We have milkweed and paintbrush and a few different things. But the way he took the pictures, it just shows mostly the native grasses and it's just not the greatest picture for you guys. So you guys can see where I'm going to put this, or I want to put this. So
yeah, and it's, I mean, it's kind of tough too, because you know, it's an odd time of year, I guess, depending on where you are, to try to take a photo to show, you know, what the vegetation is, because up here at my house, you'd be taking a picture of snow. So
I'm down in Penguich, Utah. I don't know if you know where that is, but yeah, we're still, I don't have snow on the ground, but we've had a lot of snow, but everything's just kind of dry and dead right now. But
I guess
it's not a big deal to you guys. I just thought, oh, it's not the greatest picture to show what a pretty area this is that I want to try to do this.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's some great stuff around Panguitch, and it's exciting to have a canal in your backyard there on your property.
We actually have, we've got two. We've got a great big one that runs up top and then one that runs down the side. And yeah, and I'm just excited because we have got people want to do farm visits. We raise Highlander cattle and things, and they're over on the other side of the property. They're not by where we're going to do this, but I thought what a fun thing it would be to have these kids and people come out and have this pollinator garden as well for them to come see and learn. So that's kind of my plan with everything. So I'm excited.
Great. Yeah. Great. We're excited.
All right, well, I won't worry about it then.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fine.
All right. Well, thank you.
Hey, thanks. Any other questions or comments, thoughts? Hey, I think with the silence, I think
Can I just do one more, Mindy? Can I do one more quick one?
Sure.
There was a question about when they were notified whether or not they would be receiving kits, if they were told how many to expect.
Yes, I mean, so in the application, you will put in the number of kits you would like. And yeah, we generally try to honor the number of kits that you like. If we are running short, I don't know if this is where the question was going. If we are running short, we might ask to, you know, cut you back a kit or two, but generally, if you're accepted, you should count on 30 plants per kit and the number of kits that you have requested. Unless there's an issue with the application of, you know, if you ask for 10 kits and you have, you know, a very small space or something like that, we'll pick up on that. Hopefully that answers the question. Great. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. And this webinar will be up on the website shortly. We might try to do a little doctoring of it. I think that ends our Q&A, and we look forward to seeing the applications.